Hi, this is Brock with Straight Line Delivery, and I wanted to make a video that kind of addressed the biggest questions I get and why I give the answers and how it's come some of the answers aren't the same for one person as they are the other. I'll cover all three of those things in this video. Check it out. Okay, in this video, I wanted to cover the three big topics, the three main things people ask me about. Full-size flatbeds, 40-foot hotshots, CDL Class A hotshots, and hauling campers. It's important, I think, to understand that not everything is as it appears. Meaning, you can see a guy in a brand new $90,000 truck hauling campers, dressed wild, really nicely, got a big smile on his face. Everything appears to be working perfectly for that person, and you automatically think, all right, that guy's wearing nice clothes, he's got a $90,000 truck, he's making a ton of money. Well, maybe. Not necessarily. Definitely not. Those are my three answers, and here's what I mean. Maybe he's making good money for what he needs, okay? The definitely not is you don't make good money hauling campers. Not for a whole living. If your number one goal is to make money, hauling campers is not where it's at. You cannot make money hauling campers. Now, I get to talk to a lot of people. Back when I drove, I would see somebody at a truck stop and I'd go, okay, I want to know what their deal is. What's their story? What are you up to? What are you doing? How are you doing? And what's your schedule like? So I'd run into these guys hauling campers, and a lot of them were guys that retired at a fairly young age. They wanted a big truck to haul their own personal motorhome or their own personal camper. So they thought, you know what? I don't want this coming out of my retirement money. But if I haul 2 campers a month, that'll pay for this truck. So basically they get a free truck, and sure, they kind of pile the miles on it a little bit, but if you only haul 2 a month, that's not horrible. And the tax write-offs they get's amazing. I've had other guys go, I just do this to see my grandkids. They live, 400 miles away. I go pick up a camper in northern Indiana, deliver it wherever it's supposed to go, and then route back through and see my family because they live so far away. Otherwise, they would have to pack it up, drive there, rent hotels, do all this stuff. No, they just make it part of their lifestyle. So when anyone asks me, should I haul campers? Is there any money in it? The answer is absolutely not. But if your goal is to just kind of get a free truck and get the write-offs of owning your own business, or travel around and use it as a travel agent to see your family, or maybe make sure you wind up somewhere warm in the wintertime and just make a few bucks here and there, and you don't really need to pay off a mortgage, put a kid through college, well then yeah, that might be a great thing for you. I've also recommended that somebody haul campers if they're not sure they like trucking. I told one guy, you have a truck, go haul campers for a month. Now, you're not going to make any money, but what you are going to do is you're going to find out a little bit about who you are. Do you like being on the road all the time? Do you like being gone that much? Is it something you enjoy? After a month, you'll know whether you hate a job. And then you don't have to purchase a trailer. You don't have to, spend all the money that comes with load securement and all that stuff to find out maybe you hate it. This is for somebody who has, maybe never driven a truck before. The second example is a full-size 48-foot, 53-foot flatbed or step deck. The main benefit to that, and as far as I've run them both. I've run 48-foot flats, step decks, 40-foot hotshots, 25-foot hotshots, sprinter vans, and here's what I can tell you. As far as a 40-foot hotshot that can haul somewhere between 15 and 20,000 pounds and a 48-foot flat, the driver seems to more or less put the same amount of money in their pocket. Unless you want to run really hard and long, then the 48-foot flat's always going to win. But the hotshot gets twice the fuel economy and the tires cost half as much. So if you're going to work a 5-day week, Monday through Friday, hotshot and semi, by the time you route them out and back to their house, and there's a caveat to everything. It depends on where you live. If you live 2 hours from nowhere, well, then you're going to have a little less success financially than somebody who lives right in a main freight lane. Like if this is, if this is Chicago and this is Cleveland, that's a great flatbed freight lane. If you live in between those, then you're going to get home a lot more often just because it's going to work out that way. It's also not going to cost you much to stop at home on the weekends and then continue on your route. Whereas if you live, 4 hours south of there, then, it might change things. The biggest thing I ask people is, what are your goals? If your goals are to be home more than the weekends, you need to be home, let's say every other day or every third day, you've got to be home. That's just your family dynamic. That's just a way, your life has to be for whatever reason. If that's the case, then I would suggest being able to haul the longest and the heaviest piece of material that you possibly can. Because there is so much steel product in Ohio, Indiana, Michigan. If you live in those regions, even Illinois, if you live in those regions, then you can make, 300-mile, 400-mile trips out and back and be home probably every other day. Especially if you've got something that's a bit of a specialty piece of equipment. Like if you've got a flatbed trailer that's a 48-foot that you can put 50,000 pounds on or more, then you're kind of the belle of the ball there. You've got something that can do that a lot of trucks cannot do. You can charge more for it. You don't have to go as far, because there's a lot in the steel industry that happens between Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Chicago, Milwaukee. You don't really have to leave that loop. And then you start hauling steel coils out of, Middletown, Ohio, up to Michigan and Cleveland. I mean, you can keep the routes pretty short and command a pretty decent living. Be home once, maybe twice a week, and then off on the weekends. So you've got to ask yourself, what is my main goal? Now remember, the camper guy I talked about, he just wanted to see his grandkids. This other camper guy, he just wanted a free truck. He knew if he ran 2 campers a month, that would pay for his whole truck. He could write the whole thing off. And then when he wanted to go camping or do something with that truck, then he's got one, and it's no money out of his pocket as far as cutting into his retirement. If your main goal is to be home as much as you possibly can, biggest possible piece of equipment you can get that hauls the most weight. So a super lightweight trailer that you can put 50,000 pounds on, and you're going to be home, or that have the ability to get home more often than somebody who's, in a 40-foot flatbed Hotshot. The way I have my business set up was for the everyday man. It's assuming that you need to make as much money as humanly possible. That's the way I run my setup. So I'm assuming that with a 40-foot flatbed Hotshot that you can scale 16, 17, 18,000 pounds or even more is better. If you can do that and you can be gone from home Monday through Friday, get home Friday night or early Saturday morning, then we usually can put about $5,000, sometimes more, dollars a week on that truck, which by the time I take my cut, insurance, and your fuel, you're talking about bringing home about $3,000 a week. One of my drivers this year, who's been with me for a while, he doesn't use the fuel card. He made just shy of $225,000. So call it pocketing, I don't know, what, 170, 180, something like that. And that's with 1 month off. So this is somebody who wants to make as much money as possible, but also maintain a decent work-life balance. I've had other people that do even more than that because they're going for a supercharged 2-year, 3-year hit because they're going to retire and they're going to be done. They just want to have a couple $100 extra $1,000 in the bank when they finally call it quits. So when you guys ask me, when you email me, should I do this? I'm always going to ask some follow-up questions. What is your number one goal? Where do you live? And what kind of home time are you expecting? How long do you want to do this? What are your responsibilities? Do you have a family that can handle you being gone for 5 days straight? If that's not the case, then I will suggest equipment based on what your life needs are. But generally speaking, no matter what you have, if you can stay out for at least a week at a time, if you live between, Milwaukee and somewhere in Pennsylvania, somewhere in that loop, you're probably good to spend 5 days on the road and make about $5,000 a week, which will translate into $3,000 in your pocket. And like I said, most of my guys take about a month off a year, sometimes 5 weeks, 6 weeks. And, they're pulling in, 150,000, 170,000, somewhere in that range in their pocket. I hope that answers some of your questions. As always, I'll leave some information at the end of the video. If you have any questions about any of this, please don't hesitate to get a hold of me. I like to help out the little guy. We're all just small players in a great big world, and we're all trying to make it. So if there's anything I can do to help you, I will. Give me a call, shoot me an email. Thanks.